What is going on, people? My name is Callum. How are we all doing? So today we have a very fun video for you. Basically, we're going to be predicting every single match from the Champions League 2023-2024 group stages to see who will be going through. Will it be Man United? Will it be Bayern? Will Arsenal go through? Will Real Madrid go through? Will Barcelona go through? We will have to see. But we're going to be simulating every single match day. So let's get on with it. With match day 1. So then, starting off in Group A, Galatasaray versus Copenhagen. A 4-0 win for Galatasaray. What a start. And up next then, a big one already. Bayern versus Manchester United then is going to be a 3-2 win for Bayern. Boo. So then up next then is going to be Sevilla versus RC Lens. Who's going to get the win out of these two? A 6-0 win for Lens. Sevilla tanking already. So then up next then is going to be Arsenal versus PSV. Who gets the win out of these two? A 3-1 win for PSV. So then up next then is going to be Braga versus Napoli in Group C. It's going to be a win for, I believe, that is Napoli. 3-6. Up next in match day 1 then, it's going to be Real Madrid versus Union Berlin. Then it's going to be a 3-3 draw. Oh, interesting. Then into Group D, we do move. Sociedad versus Inter Milan is a win for Sociedad. So then up next then is going to be Benfica versus Salzburg. It's going to be a win for Benfica, comfortable. So then up next then we move into Group E, which is going to be Feyenoord versus Celtic. And it's going to be a 2-0 win for Feyenoord. Then up next is the game from Group E. Lazio versus Atletico Madrid is a 0-0 draw. I think that's our first draw. Time for the group of death then. Up first, Milan versus Newcastle then is going to be a 4-2 win for Milan. And then up next, PSG versus Dortmund is going to be a 1-0 win for PSG. Ooh. Then it's time for the start of Group G. Young Boys versus Leipzig then is going to be a 4-3 win for Young Boys. So then up next, Man City versus Red Star then. Who gets the win out of these two? It's going to be a 1-1 draw. Oh, could be a shock. Up next then, the final group is going to be Barcelona versus Antwerp. It's going to be a 2-2 draw. Finally then, for match day 1, Shakhtar versus Porto then is going to be a 3-2 win for Shakhtar. Oh. So then that is the end of match day 1. Some shocks on the cards. I didn't see Man City drawing, Man United losing, of course. I didn't mean like that. But this is what the group table looks like after match day 1. Looks very interesting. Looks like there's going to be a few shocks on the cards. Let's move on to match day 2. Then let's get started with match day 2 then. Man United versus Galatasaray then. It's going to be a 3-1 win for United. And then up next then in Group A, Copenhagen versus Bayern Munich then. It's going to be a 2-2 draw. Oh, spicy. So up next then in Group B, Lens versus Arsenal. It's going to be a 3-2 win for Lens. Oh. So then up next then is going to be PSV versus Sevilla. Now Sevilla lost their first game and it's going to be a 3-3 draw in match day 2. Next then is going to be Union Berlin versus Braga in Group C. And it's going to be a 3-0 win for Union Berlin. Right, up next then a big one. Napoli versus Real Madrid. It's going to be a 3-2 win for Real Madrid away from home. That is a big result. Right, up next then we are into Group D. Salzburg versus Sociedad. It's going to be a win for Sociedad. They smashed them. Oh my god. And then Inter Milan versus Benfica then in match day 2 is going to be a win for Inter Milan against Benfica. That's a big result. Atletico Madrid against Feyenoord is in Group E. Up next, a 3-2 win for Atletico. Now up next in Group E is going to be Celtic versus Lazio. Now Celtic did lose their first game, but they get a draw in game number 2. It's group of death time. Dortmund versus Milan then. What's the score going to be here? It's going to be a 4-6 win for Dortmund. Is that right? Dortmund? Milan won 4-6. Damn. What a game that was. Okay, right. Newcastle versus PSG then in the second game. It's a 1-1 draw. So then, Leipzig versus Manchester City in Group A, B, C, D, E, F, G. 1-1. Red Star versus Young Boys then. What will the score be in this two in the second game in Group G? It's a 3-0 win for Young Boys. I think they've won 2 out of 2 now. Up next then, the final group, Group H, Porto, Barcelona. It's going to be a 5-3 win for Porto. That's big. That could be sending Barcelona to Europa League. So then up next then in Group H is going to be Antwerp versus Shakhtar. It's going to be a 2-1 win for Antwerp. That's a big result. So then, here is the matchday tables after 2 games in the Champions League groups. As you can see, Man City struggling. We've got Barcelona struggling. Man United still, here and there a little bit. The group of death is completely open. But we'll have to see what happens in matchday 3 as we hit the halfway point. So let's get started with matchday 3. Up first then is going to be Galatasaray versus Bayern Munich in Group A. And it's going to be a 0-0 draw. So then to Group A we stay. Man United versus Copenhagen then at Old Trafford is a 1-0 defeat. Europa League, here we come. Okay, then up next then is going to be Sevilla versus Arsenal in Group B then. It's going to be a 2-1 win for Sevilla. I think Arsenal are struggling. So then up next then in Group B, Lens versus PSV. Probably need a draw here for both, but it's a win for Lens. It's a big result. So up next then at Group C, Braga versus Real Madrid. I think Real Madrid probably need a result here, and they've got one. There you go, back-to-back wins. So then, Union Berlin versus Napoli then. Who's going to get the win out of these two? It's a win for Union Berlin, 4-0 against Napoli. What are they cooking? So then up next then is going to be Inter Milan versus Salzburg in Group D. And it's going to be a win for Salzburg. Right then, Benfica versus Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad have won every game so far, but they lose this one. Call it the curse of the commentator. Group E now then, Feyenoord versus Lazio. Who's going to win out of these two? It's going to be a 4-3 win for Feyenoord. So then, Celtic versus Atletico Madrid. The next game up in Group E is going to be a win for Atletico Madrid. I think Celtic have lost every game so far. No, they may. I don't know. Right then, back to the group of death. We do go Paris versus Milan. It's going to be a win for AC Milan. That group is wide open. St James's Park then for Dortmund. Newcastle versus Dortmund is going to be a 2-1 win for Dortmund. Ooh. So then Leipzig versus Red Star then into Group F, I believe. But it's a win for Leipzig. 5-1. Xavi Simons hat-trick. Nope, I was wrong. We're in Group G, by the way. Right, Young Boys versus Manchester City is going to be a 1-0 win for Manchester City. Their first win after 2 match days. So then into the final game of the final group for the first 3 match days. Barcelona versus Shakhtar is going to be a 3-6 win for Shakhtar. What are Barcelona doing here? And finally then, Antwerp versus Porto is going to be a 3-3 draw. Oof, okay. Well then, take a moment, digest it all in, because that was some incredible group stages for the first 3 match days. We've reached the halfway point. Now I'm pretty sure, because I haven't been keeping score, but I know that most of the groups are pretty open. I don't think there is anyone really running away with it so far. I know Man City are struggling. I know Manchester United are probably in around there. Bayern are in around there. I think Barcelona probably need to pick up the pace a little bit as well. There could be a few shocks on the cards when it comes to the group stages. Without further ado though, let's get on to match day 4. So it's time to continue with match day 4. Bayern, Galatasaray. Who's going to go through out of these 2 teams? What are they cooking? Galatasaray 6-0. So then up next then, Copenhagen versus Manchester United. With Bayern dropping points, they draw 0-0. Then up next then, Arsenal versus Sevilla. Who's going to go through out of these 2 teams? It's going to be a win for Sevilla. Oh. Then up next then is going to be PSV versus Lens in Group B. This is going to be a 4-2 win for PSV. Then up next then, Group C is going to be Napoli versus Union Berlin. And it's going to be a win for Napoli. 4-2 seems to be a popular score. Then up next then is going to be Real Madrid versus Braga at the Bernabeu. It's going to be a 1-1 draw. Real Madrid are dropping a lot of points. So up next then is going to be Sociedad versus Benfica then. Who's going to get the win out of these 2? It's going to be a win for Benfica, 6-0. And up next then, finally in Group D, Salzburg versus Inter Milan. It's going to be a 5-1 win for Salzburg. What's happening in Group D? What's Atletico Madrid versus Celtic then into Group E then. And it's going to be a win for Atletico Madrid. And up next then is going to be Lazio versus Feyenoord then. And who is going to win out of these 2? It's going to be a 4-0 win for Feyenoord. Oh, what the hell? Right then, group of death time. Dortmund versus Newcastle then. Who's going to go through out of these 2? So 5-1 win for Newcastle. Is everyone just starting to score goals in match day 4? Right then, the second game in the group of death then, Milan versus Paris. Who goes through out of these 2? It's going to be a 1-1 draw. Up next then is going to be Manchester City versus Young Boys. Who's going to get the win out of these two? Man City have been struggling lately and they continue to struggle. Ooh. Up next then is going to be Red Star versus Leipzig. Then in the next game, it's going to be a 3-1 win for Red Star. The big team struggling in this group. Up next then at Group H, Shakhtar versus Barcelona. Who wins this one? It's a 4-6 win for Barcelona. What a game. And finally then in Group H, Porto versus Antwerp. Who's going to get the win out of these two? It's a win for Antwerp. 3-0. What? But then match day 4 is complete. Here is how the tables are looking. Some shock results in that round. We had the likes of, I think, Newcastle winning 5-1. Real Madrid dropped points. Barcelona won. You've got also the likes of, I believe, Antwerp beating Porto. Real Madrid dropped points. Bayern Munich dropped points as well. Man City drew again. Everyone's dropping points. This is such an open race as we move into match day 5. So then up next then is going to be Galatasaray versus Manchester United. Then match day 5, United get the win. So then up next then is going to be Bayern versus Copenhagen. Then who goes through out of these two? It's going to be a win for Copenhagen. Bayern drop points again. Sevilla versus PSV in Group B then. And match day 5 is going to be a 1-0 win for PSV. So then Arsenal versus Lens then. Who is going to get the win out of these two? Big result needed. And it's a win for Lens. Right then, up next then, Group C, Real Madrid versus Napoli. Who's going to make it through out of these two? It's a win for Napoli and Real Madrid dropping points again. Okay then, Braga versus Union Berlin. Both of these teams have a big chance to make it through, and it's a 4-6 win for Union Berlin. Right then, Group D, Benfica versus Inter Milan. Who's going to get the win out of these two? It's going to be a 1-0 win for Benfica. That's a huge result. So then up next then, Real Sociedad versus Salzburg. Out of these two, it's going to be a win for no one. It's a draw. Group E then, Lazio versus Celtic. Who's going to win out of these two? It's going to be a win for Celtic. 5-0. What? Okay then, Feyenoord versus Atletico Madrid then. Let's see who gets the win out of these two. It's going to be a 5-4 result for Feyenoord. Then, Group of Death time, PSG versus Newcastle. Here we go then. It's going to be a 3-3 draw. Up next then, it's going to be Milan versus Dortmund then. Who gets the win out of these two? This could be a big result. Milan win 5-0. Whoa. So then, needing a win, Man City versus Leipzig then. It's going to be a Man City are finished. And then, Young Boys versus Red Star then. This is a big result for either team. They need the result here. And it's a 5-1 win for Red Star. What is going on in that group? Right, and up next then is going to be Shakhtar versus Antwerp. Who gets the win out of these two? It's going to be a 0-0 draw between these two. Okay then, and finally then for match day 5, Barcelona versus Porto. Barcelona need a win here, and they've got it. 3-2. Barcelona get the win. Whew. So then the lights are down low. It is match day 5 is over. There is some dramatics going on here. Let me read you out some of these. Now, it's all to play for in Group A. Group B, we have lost Arsenal. They lost every single game. Braga have left from Group C. Salzburg and Real Sociedad will be fighting it out for the final playoff place in Group D with Benfica already through. We have Atletico Madrid and Feyenoord. That group is already done, completed. We have Newcastle and PSG fighting it out for the final places in match day 5. Also, AC Milan have qualified from that group as well. It is all to play for in Manchester City's group, and Porto are the only team out in the final group. As we go into the last match day, this is drama. This is the Champions League. So then it is all to play for then in the final match day 6, Group A, Man United versus Bayern Munich. Then it's going to be a 3-0 win for Man United. That is huge. And Bayern are out. What? Which means then it is a straight shootout between Copenhagen and Galatasaray. Whoever wins goes through. And it is going to be Galatasaray who join Manchester United. Galatasaray are going to top the group. And they're going through as well. But then time for Group B then, PSV versus Arsenal. Arsenal already out, so PSV need a result. And they get one. Arsenal didn't win a single Champions League game. What? That means the group is pretty much set then. RC Lens versus Sevilla. Sevilla going to the Europa League, and they're going to be going with a loss. So that means RC Lens win the group, PSV through Sevilla, Europa League. So then up next is Group C, Union Berlin versus Real Madrid. Real Madrid need to win this. They need to win it. And it's a draw, which means it is in Napoli's hands to go through. the drama. So then, Napoli versus Braga. All Napoli need to do is not lose. They can draw this game if they need to, and it's going to be a 2-0 defeat, which means Napoli go to the Europa League and Real Madrid are going to the knockout stages. So into Group D then, Inter Milan versus Real Sociedad. Real Sociedad need the points here. They need them, and they're not going to get them. Oh, that's drama. But then Sociedad's loss means that Salzburg, who are going to be at home against Benfica, are already through, and Benfica end with a very impressive 15 points. But then this group already settled, Atletico and Feyenoord already through, but Atletico versus Lazio in the final game is a draw. But then the final game of Group E then is going to be Celtic versus Feyenoord. Celtic need a win here, but it's going to be Lazio who go into the Europa League and Feyenoord who top the group. You know what? I have absolutely got that wrong. Celtic are in the Europa League. I apologise to all the Celtic fans out there. Okay, up next then, Newcastle versus AC Milan. AC Milan already through. Newcastle need the win, and they don't get it, which means PSG are going through and Newcastle in the Europa League. Now again then, I'm getting too ahead of myself because Borussia Dortmund versus PSG. If Dortmund get a win here, they're in the Europa League, and they don't. Newcastle in the Europa League, PSG and AC Milan go through. So then into Group G then, Manchester City's group, all to play for. Leipzig versus Young Boys. Young Boys need a point, and they get 4 goals and get 3 points. What a result that is. So then here is the most simple task for Manchester City. All they have to do is win away from home, and all Red Star at home need to do is get a point to go through to the knockout stages. So who is going to be going through? Manchester City have scraped it just about, and they are going through to the knockout stages. Red Star are going out, and I believe that's going to be Leipzig in the Europa League. So then the final group, Royal Antwerp versus Barcelona. Again, this is all to play for. Barcelona probably need a win here, and it's going to be a 3-0 win for Barcelona, which means they are through. Oh. So then the final game of the final group stage is the most simple as it comes. Porto versus Shakhtar Donetsk. Shakhtar need to win this to go through to the knockout stages. If they don't, Antwerp are through. Porto already out. Porto, Shakhtar, a 0-0 draw, which means Antwerp go through and Shakhtar go to the Europa League. Take a minute, take a breath. What a group stage. So then, what a group stage. Let's recap this for a second. Okay, right. The teams through: Galatasaray, Manchester United, RC Lens and PSV. You've got Union Berlin and Real Madrid. You have Benfica and Salzburg from Group D. Feyenoord and Atletico Madrid from Group E. AC Milan and PSG from the Group of Death. By the way, AC Milan the only team to go undefeated. Young Boys and Manchester City from Group G. And Barcelona from Group H, along with Antwerp. Now we've got some teams, of course, also in the Europa League. Copenhagen, Sevilla, of course, love to be there. Napoli, Sociedad, Celtic, Newcastle, RB Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk all made it to the Europa League. But those are your 16 teams through to the round of 16 for next year's Champions League. Now, of course, I know what you're going to say. We did it on goal difference, not head-to-head. I did it on goal difference because it was easier to do. If you want to do it on head-to-head and argue in the comments, feel free. But then, guys, that is going to be it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Comment down below who would have gone through on head-to-head, because I don't even know, and my brain does not even want to calculate it. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. More long-form videos coming soon. There should be a new video potentially coming on Thursday for Premier League Predicts and Premier League Talk as well. But other than that, I shall see you in a bit, and peace out. Bye!